Meet the president of one of the Southeast's finest liberal arts institutions, Coker College. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Service Center for the PD Area Council of the Boy Scouts. We're learning a little bit about Coker College, and we're visiting with its president, Dr. James Dawson. Good morning,
Good morning.
Dr. Dawson.
It's great to be here.
Thanks so much for coming in. Do you mind if we call you Jim?
Jim's great.
I heard you walking in, and a couple guys grabbed you, Jim, and I thought, well, we ought to be able to do that.
Of course.
I'm sure. And now when you're on campus, students will see you. You're Dr. Dawson.
Well, I hope. Sometimes it may be something other than Dr. Dawson, but generally I expect them to be at least cognizant of my position.
Yeah, very definitely. And now, how large is the Coker College, both campus and size as well as the student body?
Our student body is just over 1,100. That includes sites off campus. We have an evening and extended studies program, but total enrollment just over 1,100. Mm-hmm. And our campus includes the center part of our academic buildings, which is about 27 acres. And then we have an additional area for athletic fields of about 20 acres. And we have Kalmia Gardens, which is a wonderful attraction for Hartsville and certainly a kind of a jewel for our campus. And it's 36 acres of a botanical garden area.
Wow. And that's right in the heart of Hartsville? Or?
Yes.
Is that right? Kalmia Gardens.
Yes. Lovely place.
Yeah, I don't think I'd even heard of that before, Jim. That's fascinating. Now, you probably have folks from throughout the PD in the Southeast coming to visit those gardens.
We do. It's one of the attractions, I think, of our community. Provides an ideal place for us to have some laboratory experience for students, but it's also a great place for people to relax. And it has become the place to have weddings in our community. So we're booked throughout the summer for weddings and events that are great to do outdoors.
Hartsville is such a special community. Just yesterday, Todd Gray was with us, the organizer of Festival Jubilate, and he was talking about Coker a lot, 4 of the performing stages, or the stages that performance will be held, as well as so many of the parking opportunities and so many of the other aspects of Coker that mean so much to him and the festival. But hearing him talk about Hartsville and the city of 7,500, and he and his wife moving there in November '01, a little before you and Karen arrived on the scene, but it sounds like an amazing community.
Oh, it's a great community, a wonderful place to live, and we think learn on our campus. Mm-hmm. But certainly the Coker campus provides opportunities for our entire region. We have a wonderful performing arts center. We have a focal point on the campus for outdoor activities that is being developed with our campus renovation. That will be completed this summer, and it is indeed one of this area's premier locations for events like Todd is organizing.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Dawson, can you share a little bit with the viewers about the history of the college, and how long has it been around that 1,100 size? Has that been for a number of years, or has it grown pretty dramatically recently?
It's grown recently, and that has been good for the campus. The school began in 1908 and was an outgrowth of a high school. Major Coker was the person who had the dream and created the institution, and it began as an all-women's school, a single-gender institution, and operated there for a number of years, and then was associated during that period of time with the Baptist Church. And in the 40s, it severed its relationship with the church, and in the 60s became a coeducational institution and operates today as an institution with male and female representatives and good students who enjoy their experience on our campus. Mm-hmm. Probably the thing that makes us unique and has allowed us to grow is this roundtable learning concept which we have. Most of our classrooms are equipped with large round tables, seat about 20 students around those tables, and so our interactive learning experience is definitely, and everyone is on the front row because you sit around tables, and it is an opportunity for students to learn to articulate and defend positions and to understand the true Socratic method.
That's fascinating, Jim. I was not aware of that.
Oh, it's, yeah.
You say almost all the classrooms?
Almost all the classrooms are round table format.
What precipitated setting up the classroom structure like that? I mean, other than Socrates himself, and what is that something that had occurred in other schools in the Southeast or in the country, in the world?
It has occurred at few institutions, but it is truly a unique concept, and it was an opportunity Coker thought would provide a unique experience for students. We're convinced that at the undergraduate level, students do need to have the opportunity to interact with faculty members on a very personal level, and this provides that. Now, I tell students and their parents when they come to visit, there are some disadvantages you can't hide when you're sitting around a table. You can't slouch down in the back row and not respond to questions. And we know if you're not in your seat. So it's a little more rigorous than some places, but it is certainly, I think, the way that we feel is most advantageous for students to learn.
So students have assigned seats?
No, not necessarily, but
at the table there.
But it's easy for, no, they do not have assigned seats, but it's easy for faculty members to know who's present when you need to count 15 or so in the classroom.
That is fabulous, Jim. I bet that is something that few people other than alums of the school would be familiar with or aware of. Are there any other schools in the PD area, for instance, any other colleges or even here in South Carolina that would have, to the best of your knowledge, a similar setup?
No, I think none would. There are many schools that have seminar experiences,
sure,
but none that provide the focus for instruction in that manner.
That is fabulous.
Yeah, it is good.
That really is amazing. That must make you feel good being at the helm of an institution like that.
It does. In fact, it's one of the things that I found attractive about the institution as I looked at this opportunity.
A little bit about yourself, Jim. Are you originally from the area?
No, originally I'm from Indiana. I had all of my undergraduate and graduate experience in Indiana, and I have served a number of other institutions. I moved most recently from Tennessee Wesleyan College, where I was president for 7 years.
And you grew up in Indiana? And,
yes.
Virtually everything there. It's a fascinating area. And you were in Evansville?
Evansville. I began my career at the University of Evansville there. I spent a number of years in a variety of administrative positions, and then moved to Kansas and enjoyed the plains of Kansas for a while, and then to Tennessee.
What was that like ascending as the presidency, your first one, I think you said, in 1995 there at Tennessee Wesleyan? What was that like, having been, and I think I saw admissions or in student affairs later, and then actually becoming a college president? I mean, that's a big deal.
Well, it is, and it is a challenging position, no question. The college presidency is one that requires individuals to enjoy fundraising, because that's a major part of the responsibility. But you also have to understand the concept of shared governance and be comfortable with shared governance. Some folks liken that to herding cats, but it is indeed the system that has made our American higher education system as strong as it is.
Talk a little about shared governance. When you say shared governance, what would a viewer think of? I mean, what should they think of when you say that?
Shared governance is the opportunity that exists on the campus for all of the stakeholders to share in the decision-making process. We have a faculty senate that provides leadership for the campus, and we have a large committee structure. And typically we make decisions through that process. That is, committees make recommendations to the faculty senate, and the faculty senate approves action. Now, there's no question, at some point decisions are required. The shared governance process assumes consensus, and as long as there is consensus, things work beautifully. But occasionally we have to make decisions, and that's part of my role. And I tell individuals frequently, it's not the decisions that are difficult, it's implementing them and making them work that is of greatest importance. And so we attempt to do that on a regular basis. But I honestly believe that the strength of the American higher education system is in shared governance.
Mm-hmm. And Jim, in that first presidency at Tennessee Wesleyan, was that a similar school to Coker?
Yes, similar in many ways. It's a small liberal arts institution. Enrolls about 800 students, has the same curriculum basically, and we enjoyed good experiences there and have come to Coker understanding probably the role of the presidency much better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I saw during your tenure at Tennessee Wesleyan that you had a nursing program was added to the curriculum, that you all successfully completed a $10 million capital campaign, which is a big deal for a college under 1,000.
Right.
And of course, I think you said earlier that a capital campaign began the same day you matriculated or came to Coker to begin your presidency here.
Well, that's true. It was an exciting day. They announced my appointment as president. We moved to the room next door and announced a $22.6 million capital campaign.
Oh, come on, $22.6 million.
$22.6 million.
Wow.
And it is entitled Gateway to the New Century Campaign. And I'm pleased to report that we're just over $18 million of the $22.6 now.
Congratulations.
And we have over a year to complete the campaign.
Wow.
And the cornerstone of our campaign will be the construction of a new library and information technology center. The Charles and Joan Coker Library and Information Technology Center.
How exciting. Golly. And when you mentioned Major Coker back in 1908, for viewers in Murrells Inlet, for instance, or over in Laurinburg, who may not be familiar with the Coker name as it's associated with Hartsville and Sunoco, for instance, can you share a little bit about that connection?
The Coker family connection is very strong, continues to be important to the institution. The family has a rich history and heritage in our area, and the Major had the foresight with his family as they developed industries and opportunities for employment to request of his children that they share equally in all the ventures. Mm-hmm. So they began a number of industries in the area. Mm-hmm. And probably the best known is Sunoco, which is a packaging firm that operates with its international headquarters in Hartsville, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. A Fortune 500 company with its headquarters right there in Hartsville is important to us.
Absolutely.
And that's an outgrowth of the Coker family.
Mm-hmm. Of course, we're here at the Service Center for the PD Area Council of the Boy Scouts, which the Coker family and so many others have had a major impact on, particularly Camp Coker in Chesterfield County near Chirral, which is an amazing place. It's been re-energized recently with a big campaign to raise funds to renovate the camp.
And it's a grand facility. I enjoy visiting there. Just a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to provide the Sunday morning worship service for the campers, and it is exciting to see 400 or so young folks involved in scouting, and what they do on a daily basis is important to our society, I believe.
Yeah, Jim, what about that worship service? How'd you get in on that?
Well, it's one of those things that you say yes to before you think about it. The minister of my church asked if I would be willing to do that, and I said, well, of course, I'll be delighted to do that. And then you begin to think about,
what am I going to say?
What do you say to young men who are involved in scouting and have just spent the whole weekend being excited about the kinds of things that are scout related, and try to bring a message that's important to them?
Yeah. Did you talk to your children at all to get some hints, or your grandchildren? Real quick, you all have 2 children?
We have 2 children, a son who lives in Indiana and a daughter in Florida. And our son in Indiana and his wife have 2 children. So we have a grandson and a granddaughter. And I've told my son on many occasions, I am a much better grandfather than I was a father. I'm just really good at grandfathering.
Oh, yeah. Why, Jim? What's the best part about being a grandfather?
Oh, you can just do whatever you want and leave, and you don't have to deal with the consequences.
Oh, my God, listen to that. I'm getting scared. Oh, my God. My mom and dad are going to, who knows what they'll do
That's
with
right.
my daughter. That's right.
You have to be careful now.
Golly, yeah. Now
you can't entrust them for very long to grandparents,
Right. Oh, well, that's a good. And so you sought a little advice prior to talking to 400 young men there.
Yes.
Out at Camp Coker.
And the best advice probably was that you can't save many souls beyond 15 minutes. So.
Short and sweet.
That's right.
Yes, very definitely. Well, that's great. I'm sure that's an aspect of the presidency that you probably hadn't thought about. Of course, that's your minister asking you to do something. So
yes.
You can't say no.
Right.
That's great. Well, what about Hartsville right now is recognized, or what makes you feel that Hartsville will continue to grow and continue to be strong?
Well, it is truly a unique small town with the Sunoco presence, the Coker College presence. The Governor's School is an important part of our community. The Governor's School for Science and Math does make a difference for Hartsville. And it is truly a community that enjoys the presence of people who come from around the world into Hartsville. And so they bring many ideas, and we enjoy a more cosmopolitan feel about a small town, I think, than many.
Yes, I remember visiting with your second or third in command there, and his name's slipping me right now, from High Point, North Carolina, when we were at the Governor's School, and it was fascinating hearing about something that he was doing with Oprah Winfrey's boyfriend.
Yes.
Stedman was coming to town, and all the impact, as you say, of Hartsville bringing folks in for educational training was a big deal.
Yeah. We have now seen that program that Ron Carter spoke of, which is Move Without the Ball. And Stedman has just completed a book, and he will be going on tour very soon to bring his book to the country. And the concept is to provide opportunities for young people to learn how to engage in activities in their life that are not all athletic related. Thus, the title, Move Without the Ball.
Without the ball. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. We got about 9 minutes, Jim, and that made me think I want to get into the segue into that aspect of during your career in higher education, your involvement with some level of expertise in the field of alcohol and drug education. And there was a piece the President's Council or President's Leadership Group put together back in the mid-'90s to help study some of the effects of alcohol on the college campus. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that was an interesting experience for me. The President's Leadership Group was an outgrowth of the Department of Education, and there were 6 presidents who were identified initially to serve. All of them, with the exception of Jim Dawson, then at Tennessee Wesleyan College, were from research types of institutions, large state institutions. And we looked at this whole issue of drug and alcohol abuse on the college campus and focused on ways that the leadership on such institutions could bring the issue to the forefront and make a difference. I have been convinced for my career that this is one of the greatest distractions to a healthy environment for students to learn. And while I'm convinced it will never go away, I do think there are ways we can manage it more effectively. And that's basically what we attempted to provide a blueprint for institutions to consider, ways that they can be more effective in dealing with very distressing issues, things that create problems in students' lives, often well beyond the college campus. I would hasten to add, however, that the problem is inherited on the campus. It's not necessarily that it's created on a college campus. Most studies indicate now that students come to school with experiences of exposure to alcohol and other drugs long before they become freshmen in college.
Really? Like in high school or
yes,
junior
or
high?
even junior high. And so we think it's important that such issues be addressed at that level and continue to be a focal point on the college campus.
Yeah, 3 of the important points early on, of course I didn't read the whole study, but just going through that aspect of binge drinking is a problem in all institutions.
Yes.
It's a problem of the entire community, not only the institution itself, but surely everything around it, as well as it will never, as you just mentioned, entirely go away.
Right.
And those points of be vocal, be visible, and be visionary, very important to think about as you talk about it. And it made me think about that aspect of 20 students and a professor sitting around a round table. Are you, as you pointed out, it's a lot tougher to fall asleep in class as well as to not be prepared.
Right.
Does that setting help students possibly shy away from some of the aspects that may be seen on other college campuses?
To a certain extent, I think it probably does, because what we have learned is peer pressure, for good or ill, does influence student activities. And we see the results of students who have overconsumed the night before coming to class. And it's much easier for a faculty member to identify those problems if they become a pattern or become persistent.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about those three aspects: be vocal, be visible, and be visionary. What about the be vocal part? As you're talking to, was the report speaking to other college presidents, speaking to vice presidents of student affairs? Who was the report in November '97 written for?
The report was really written for college presidents,
okay.
And we were saying you need to be able to speak to the issue, and if we are to be successful, it requires leadership at the top, and the president must be vocal about consideration for the campus and understand that this must be a priority. And if the president makes it a priority and is vocal about that, mm-hmm. there is the greater chance for success.
Mm-hmm. And the be visible component, I guess, very similar.
Yes. Use the bully pulpit from time to time to step out there and say, in important ways, this institution has standards, and among them will be a very specific statement about alcohol and drugs.
One of the other presidents with you, one of the other six, the president of Rhode Island, pointed out that when he got on the committee, his school was recognized as the #1 party school in America. Yeah. And that because of some of the visionary aspect, or surely that visible and vocal aspect, they've reduced some of those numbers, I think 13%. Dramatically. As he pointed out, it'll never entirely go away, but that aspect of reducing those numbers. And he gave, early on in the report, a lot of the examples. We thought about the one at Chapel Hill, the 5 kids waking up in the fraternity house that had burned down, obviously not waking up, the 5 students dying, but then finding out the very high blood alcohol contents in 4 of the students' bodies, which probably made it much more difficult to get out of a burning down fraternity house.
Sure. And unfortunately, there are far too many examples like that. Again, I think the environment that is created in this fashion is just inconsistent with our efforts on the college campus.
Mm-hmm. When you're, Jim, I'm sure you're asked, other than by your minister to speak of 400 youth, Boy Scouts, you're asked probably to talk within the community as well as all around the area about Coker and about some of the aspects. Is that prime aspect of the round table? I'm sure that's one of many important points to point out about Coker. What are some of the other aspects of the college community there?
Well, I think in addition to the very personal experience that round table provides, a very personal interaction with faculty members, we pride ourselves as being an institution of quality. We have for many years been recognized as one of the leading schools in the Southeast. U.S. News and World Report ranks us 6th last year as a leading institution. And so we defend that position of quality and adhere to all of the standards that are important for instruction and for good faculty involvement with students. And then we have some programs that have distinction, I think. Our art program has a wonderful graphic design component that is very strong. Our theater program and musical theater has gained in stature in the last few years. We have the traditional business education, social work kind of professional programs. But at the core of our institution, the thing that we strive to ensure regularly is that liberal arts concept. We are an institution that believes strongly the liberal arts provide the foundation for the future. I am frequently asking parents to consider the reality that their son or daughter will probably have 5 careers in their lifetime. If the futurists are correct, and I believe they probably are, we can't prepare students for 5 careers. We must prepare them to make good, sound decisions. And the Liberal Arts Foundation provides that opportunity.
Those are powerful words, Jim. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Great to be here.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Dr. Jim Dawson coming up next. It's been 2 years almost to the day since he ascended to the presidency of Coker College. The same day he started, they kicked off a $22.6 million capital campaign, a 3-year campaign. You heard him say it, he's got a year left, and they're already north of $18 million. Words like shared governance, the importance of a liberal arts education, but even more importantly, that aspect that so few know about, the Socratic component of a setting. A roundtable setting, 20-plus students or even less, with a professor sitting there with them. Roundtable environment is the learning you get at Coker College. Come out and visit.